Welcome to Pro Audio Profiles. My name is Brendan Decora, and each week I'll be hosting different guests, mainly engineers and producers, but also people from across the industry. Enjoy. On this week's show, we have Neal Pogue. He has credits with Tyler the Creator, Doja Cat, Kaytranada, Uchis, and Steve Lacy, of course, among many more. Enjoy. First and foremost, I want to thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure.
Of course, it's my pleasure, Brendan.
Awesome. It's been a long time.
It's been. I don't know. Oh, wow, it's been so many years. Man. I don't even know.
We met a long time ago.
Right.
Nice.
Yep.
I'd like to start, if you could go over kind of your backstory, how you got to where you were.
Well, my backstory is I am from a little town in Roselle. a little town in New Jersey called Roselle.
Okay.
It's not even called a town. It's called a borough. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Nice.
Whatever that means, right?
Right.
And I was always a kid who loved music, and I'm a kid of the late 60s, early 70s, and so my whole experience was about 45s, vinyl 45s, and so I used to love excuse me, I used to love playing 45s on the family record player,
right?
So
nice.
I go back a ways, so many different artists and record labels, and I was a big Jackson 5 fan, as you can see coming up. That was my inspiration, Jackson 5.
Nice.
But oh man,
but you didn't work with them. You're not that old.
No. It's just just being inspired by them and the music from back in those days. Soul and R&B and rock and rock and roll and so much pop. So many different. Because back in those days it was AM radio. You know what I mean?
Right.
And AM radio was the thing. And so you hear all types of music.
Yeah.
You have, back then, the stations had DJs, so you hear about the DJs, and that was exciting, and they tell you about the new song coming up, and they used to break records like that. So
nice.
There's no such thing as an internet.
Yeah.
Didn't have mobile phones.
Right.
No answering machines.
Had to go to the record store.
Yeah,
and get a vinyl.
We had phone booths, and and you had to
Forgot
wait till you
those.
get home. Man, so.
Did you play an instrument?
So coming up, I played drums coming up, but that was a little later. I started off playing I think trumpet when I was 9.
Okay.
And that didn't last long. So I moved on to drums, and so I was enamored with that for a while, and of course getting into the bands with my neighborhood friends, driving our parents crazy,
right?
In the basement or in the garage.
Yep.
But I was the one that pretty much had a passion for it. My friends were just doing it because it was like a little hobby and whatever. But I was the only one that had a passion, and so eventually I would join local bands around town, and we would go into the studio. As we got older, we'd do demos, and we'd find some demo studio in the newspaper or something. And we would go there and record our little songs. But I was the one that was always, I guess, the producer, because I was the one that was really interested in how this whole thing worked.
Right.
It might have been like an 8-track studio, but still, I was,
something. Yeah.
I had like this whole recording thing. Like, what is it about? And everybody else would want to leave, but I'd want to stay.
Right.
And I guess that was my first
nice
passion about recording.
Did you guys have any recording stuff at home, or you just went to the
back in those days, you didn't have nothing at home. Back in those days, you couldn't afford it. Everything, it wasn't laptops or anything, you know what I mean?
Even a cassette recorder.
Everything was heavy back then. Keyboards were heavy, drums were heavy, everything was heavy. You didn't have drum machines, everything was heavy, So it was
nice.
Everything was expensive. My God, I'm thinking about, going to the music store, going to the local store to check out some drums and keyboards, and you just be fascinated, but the prices would be astronomical. Like, how can I afford that?
Right.
I got to save up for how many years?
Exactly.
And you beg your parents to buy you something.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So
nice.
Yeah, I did that for a while, and then I eventually, towards the middle '80s, I had dreams of moving to California because I had an aunt here.
Okay.
And I had visited here with my mom and my brother probably in the mid-'70s. And then, I was fascinated with California and I always thought I was going to move here. Because, we had the movie business here. And, and the record business. Of course, it was the record business was mainly in New York, but the record business was here too, and so in a smaller way.
Huh.
So
I don't even remember when it was smaller and here instead of New York.
Yeah,
Now it's the opposite.
Now everything's here now.
Yep.
But man, it was like, I was like, what? It doesn't snow here? What? It doesn't,
Right.
It's always like this all the time with palm trees. So, I was like, I had to be here. Yeah, I had to be here.
Nice.
So, but during that time, man, it was, fast forward, I think it was around 84. I moved here August of 84, me and a childhood friend, and he played keyboards and I played drums, and we called ourselves the Bopsies, and we were like the black version of Hall & Oates.
Okay.
So we have,
Nice.
we wrote these pop songs that were inspired by Billy Joel and Hall & Oates, because that was the thing.
Right.
Back then, it's like, we're gonna find a record deal.
Yeah.
But no, that didn't work out.
No.
So he eventually went back to Jersey, and I stayed.
Okay.
And stayed with my aunt for a year, and she gave me a year. It's like, well, I'm gonna give you a year, and if it don't work out in a year, and I was like, all right.
Right.
And so, within that year, I went to I did odd jobs and everything. And fast forward, I found this this ad in the Music Connection. It was this music school, and it was called Soundmaster.
Okay.
And I was like, oh wow, maybe I can try that. Do the engineering thing.
Right.
And so I went there, talked to my mom, and I think she loaned me the money to do it. And I guess that was something positive. It's like, okay, well,
Right.
So I did that and went to school for a couple of, I think it might have been a couple of years or years. It's been so long, it's all like it's blurry now. But man, I went to school, and after I got out, hit the pavement. I was terrified because they give you this list of studios. You have to hit the pavement. You have to go to each one, and and see if they would accept you as an intern. And but I had a 9-to-5 job, and so while I did that, I had a friend who was best friends with Randy Jackson, not the Randy Jackson from American Idol, but Michael Jackson's younger brother, Randy Jackson. So he said, hey, Randy's got a home studio. He's looking for an intern. I was like, perfect.
Nice.
So I quit my 9-to-5 and hit the ground running. I felt that was my way of getting in. So.
So you did work with Jackson 5.
Yeah, hey, you know what? It's so crazy, right? And how you manifested, man.
Right?
I manifested it.
That's awesome.
Wow, yeah. See? Aha.
Nice.
Aha. Yep.
Awesome. So what happened after that?
After that, I interned with Randy for about a year, and then he was working on his solo record, and so we went to Larrabee to do some mixes. And so while we were there, he would always have me tag along. And while I was there, the owner, Kevin Mills, was looking for someone to replace a person that was leaving.
Okay.
And so he approached me, and I was like, yeah, but let me speak to Randy and see what he thinks. So Randy was like, yeah, go for it, because that's your opportunity.
Yeah.
But
nice.
And so I did that. So
nice.
I thank Randy for, giving me that opportunity. And
absolutely.
And so.
And that was when Larrabee still had the place in West Hollywood, right?
Right. That was the place. Right. Exactly. Thank you for saying that.
Nice.
I was at the location on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Okay.
That was the original Larrabee. And I think while I was on my way out they were building the new Larrabee.
Oh, okay. Oh, the other one wasn't even built yet.
No, it wasn't even built
okay.
yet. No, not when I first got to the original. They was, but on my way out, I think it was around 88, 89. I think they had just purchased it and was gutting it and doing whatever they have to do. And I think I left in. I think I got there in 88 and left maybe early 1990 or late 89. I wasn't at Larrabee for that long. I mean, every time I'd find a gig, I'd be gone like a year and a half. So and back in those days, they would kind of push you. Right. You would progress faster. They'd just throw you in the throw you in the fire. You just you have to get in there. You're terrified like a deer in headlights, but you'd have to toughen up and get in there. And get in the trenches. Nice. And
so you learned, I mean, a lot of, school teaches you kind of how to operate the gear a little bit, but, I learned right away that, recording school doesn't teach you how to make stuff sound good.
No.
At all.
School is more, you just know the fundamentals, the foundation, you know, signal flow and stuff like that. And you think you're prepared.
Yes.
As soon as you get in that studio, man, it's like a whole nother world. Like, they didn't teach me this. Oh my God,
Exactly.
And a lot of people ran for the hills, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when because there was so much pressure and stress and, a lot of those guys coming up to engineers were used to, beating you up too.
Yes.
Oh my God! Talking about scrubbing toilets, it was worse than that. They beat you up for making a little mistake.
Right.
Like, I'm a guy I just got out of school.
Right.
But they would beat you up. My God! Back in those days, it was no mercy. I mean, it's still some
it's not as bad now with everyone, all the political correctness and everything.
Back then, it was some assholes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God!
Yes.
But they were assholes on purpose.
Yes.
They wanted you to suffer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still remember I wasn't the guy, but I was a runner in a studio, and I was an artist that came in, and he sent a runner out to order everything on the menu at Taco Bell. Yeah. Literally one of everything. I was like, are you kidding? Yeah. Like, come on. Right. Just dumb shit like that.
Stuff, just because they could. Just because, because back in those days, it was food budgets,
Right, exactly.
So, they would just torture us, man. Right. But,
nice.
Yeah.
So then, how did you progress to do more, like, engineering and mixing stuff?
Man, when I first started, I was doing mostly recording. When I first got out of Larrabee,
right.
I was mixing a little bit, but I was recording too. Program stuff.
Okay.
But during that time, I would know a little bit about the live recordings and I was really interested in it, but came up being at Larrabee was more of a mix room, more of a mixing place.
Okay.
But I was pretty hell bent on finding out about the recording side too.
Right.
And so I guess I would do things on my own. If I had the opportunity, I'd do more recording, just to be more well versed in both sides, not just be a mixing guy. And plus, coming up as a drummer, I was interested in. I mean, I was more attracted to being around musicians.
Right.
But I loved mixing too. But just being around musicians, that was everything to me.
Mm-hmm. So nowadays, what do you more focus on? Like, do you doing more mixing, tracking, producing?
It's more. I would say it's more mixing. If I had to do a percentage, it's more mixing. But I'm only recording things that I produce.
Right.
And
are you producing a lot of the stuff you mix, or some of
both? No. A lot of stuff is from the outside.
Okay.
As far as the mixing is a lot of from outside, artists and stuff. But I'm doing a lot of in-house recording, because I'm with a production crew called PWP. It's me, Verdine White, Earth and Fire, and John Paris, who plays drums for Earth and Fire. So we've created this production team called PWP. And so we have our own little stable of artists, and we do that. And, we do some outside production too. And so that's where, that gets me into the recording side of it.
Right,
and
right.
And that's been fun. I bought
Nice.
some mics and got some cases for it. And so now I'm trucking everything to the studio.
Right.
So
Nice.
It's been fun.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I like to talk about on the podcast is actually more like how to get great performances out of artists and how to inspire the artists. Yes, obviously a lot of what we do is very technical, but ultimately it's about the artists and the inspiration and the that kind of thing. So when you're first setting up, starting a new project with an artist, how do you kick it off? How do you kind of get the vision for the project with an artist?
For me, I like to, as far as working with artists and, getting inside the vision and the whole nine, I like sitting down with the artist first. Mm-hmm. It's about having fun, and just seeing what the artist likes, what they don't like, how they like to work, And sometimes it's about, too, what time do they like to work.
Right.
Because it's all about making them comfortable.
Right.
Some people are early birds, some people are late birds, especially doing vocals.
Right.
Some people their voices don't open up until a certain point.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of artists to do a percentage, maybe they like to midday.
Right.
Kind
of warm up. And stuff.
Midday, maybe around 2 or 3. But it's all about having fun, about just making them feel comfortable, just talking about things. I don't like to walk into the studio and start rushing into it.
Of course.
Just want to sit down and chill and just talk about life and have fun, whatever comes up.
Right. And when you're mixing, how does that vary? Like obviously, you're not there for most of the project, so how do you approach that with an artist as far as getting the mix that they want?
See, that's tough because a lot of artists are different.
Right.
A lot of artists are very involved, and some artists aren't.
Right.
So, and nowadays, a lot of things you phone in. You know what I mean? There's not, back in the day, artists would come to the studio.
Right,
it would be a social event.
Yes. Yeah.
You had the producer there and the artist. Sometimes the A&R would show up. But now, you're in the box all by yourself.
Right.
And so a lot of it's phoned in and emailed in and all that. But a lot of times, sometimes it's a language barrier. And what I mean by that is sometimes they don't know how to convey what they want.
That's true.
But being that I've done this 30-something years, it is nothing that I didn't hear.
Right.
So I just say, well, just try to tell me the best way you can. And sometimes they're embarrassed that, and it's not about knowing the technical word.
Right.
Just tell me. I don't care if you tell me in a color.
Right. Exactly.
Tell me what it is. I don't care if you say, oh, it's a cloud, or it's or it's underwater, or make it sound like I'm on weed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll get it because I have a big imagination. So if you try to explain it to the best of your ability, I'll try to understand.
Right.
But sometimes there's a couple of words I say, okay, that's a new one, so let me try to figure that out.
What is that? You have to interpret the new language.
Yeah, and even producers, they don't know how to convey, and so I have a way of keeping them. A lot of it it's management crisis. A lot of times,
yes,
and you have to make them feel relaxed. Because sometimes they'll panic because they don't know how to convey some things.
Right.
And I have a lot of times where they will move on to another mixer because they don't know how to convey what they said.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that somebody just gets it. And I'm like,
you could have just told me. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that happen a couple of times where, where they've moved on to someone else because they didn't know how to convey what they were trying to say. So I'm like, well, I hope you got it. And it's nothing to feel embarrassed about.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just music.
Yeah.
Just let me know what you want. And it could have been like one little fix. They don't, but being that people have this thing called demoitis.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I've learned to, when it comes to demoitis, I've learned that, okay, they've been listening to this demo for so long that it might be this one little thing in there that they're focused on.
Yeah.
That when it's not turned up enough, they think everything's wrong.
Yep.
So
exactly.
So I always try to figure out. So when I'm listening to the demo, even before I start mixing, I try to figure out, okay, what is it in that demo that they're probably listening to? And it's probably one little boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
It could be the littlest thing.
Yep.
And if that little beep is low, everything is thrown off.
The mix is wrong. Start over.
Yeah. Like, because this whole thing is really about listening. This whole game is about really listening. Because and I've had to get myself tuned into that. Because that right there is an art even within itself.
Yeah.
Because you have to help the producer or the artist, convey something, get something across, and helping them pull them over to the other side. Like, okay, what are you listening for? What are you, what are you trying to get? Yeah. Where are you trying to go with this? And I have to help them along. I have to be the one pulling the rope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. Like I've come to realize very early on when doing mixing projects, like it's a big part of it is about, figuring out how much they like their demo.
Yeah.
Because like some of the hardest things that I've been asked is you do your thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I could do whatever I want. Like I could go a complete 180
that's
or
a trick.
It's like, what does that mean?
But I also do ask them, what is it, I always ask, okay, what is it? Is there anything that you're married to? I always say, is there anything that you're married to on this demo? And if they say, and I think that always helps.
Yeah.
Because sometimes then I ask that, you got to ask them, is there anything you're married to? Right. Because I'm, because if they're not married to anything, then
you could change whatever
then I have more
want.
room to do me. But if they're married to something, then I have to focus on that because that's what their brain is it's ingrained in their head, Yeah. So.
And even sometimes it's hard because, when they really don't like their demo, and it's like, well, how do I interpret it in a way that you do like? Like I'll do, usually there's an obvious like one main theme or instrument in a song where it's like, okay, this is what's driving the whole thing. But their demo, has that, but then they're like, oh, I really wanted this other part to do that instead. It's like, well, that changes everything,
Right.
So it's kind of deciphering, how to get that, you know.
And then there's times where after you've worked on one project, you move on to another. Sometimes you get caught in this thing where you think. And I'll give you an example, is when I was working with Steve Lacy. I was just working on something else, and the artist wanted their vocals loud. When I worked with Steve Lacy, I automatically turned his vocal up loud.
Right.
He was like, no, I like my vocals low. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I don't like really loud vocals, So it was real cool. So that made me really sit back and get relaxed. And, and because sometimes you think, okay, this person wants their vocals loud, or they want this loud, and then sometimes it's because you just worked on something else.
Exactly.
And now you're in this little groove here, and you're like, oh no, I have to get my mind out of that because you've been on that for so long. Now you're moving on to something else, and you think that automatically,
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's crazy,
and that's like. With vocals especially, like, when clients ask me, oh, how do you like the vocal level? It's like, vocals the most subjective thing there is in the whole mix.
It really
like,
is. The whole
people,
thing. Yeah, that's the thing about music. It's so subjective, man. And it's like, there is no right or wrong. I mean, sometimes there's horrible and terrible, but there's no right or wrong,
Yes.
Yeah, right or wrong. Like, what's right or wrong?
Exactly.
It's subjective. You do what you feel. And if nobody likes it, then you know what's up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And how have advancements in technology affected your mixing process over the years?
Thank God I came from the analog world because that's how I always think. It doesn't matter how many plugins I have, if I'm in the box. I always, my whole being is analog. And I think maybe that's an advantage because I'm not thinking digital.
Right.
That's just a word to me. It's just a thing. But I don't think it has affected me. The only time it only affected me when we went from analog to Pro Tools.
Right.
Because I didn't like the way Pro Tools sounded. Because being spoiled by analog, you have that tape compression and that whole nine, something that you can play with.
Yeah.
You can either hit it harder to get more tape compression or soft, whatever. but moving on to Pro Tools, it felt real sterile and real bright and brittle, and so
exactly.
And that became like the norm. Mm-hmm. And I fought it for a while, but I said, okay, let me get a Pro Tools rig and get into it. But then when people became more indecisive, as you know, as technology has grown, we become, give me more tracks. Yeah. But now I don't, you know,
more options.
Yeah, more options, but more options that create more confusion too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so thank God we have Pro Tools, because then we have automatic, you know, recalls.
Yeah.
So, you know, because now we have 1,000 recalls now because we're
recall
so
6 months
indecisive.
later.
Yeah. And you have to recall it later when the person's like, and you think you're done. Mm-hmm. And it's never done until it's out.
Yes.
Just because it's going to mastering.
I've even had artists pull it off of Spotify to do revisions before. It's like, what are you doing?
Just because it's going to master, I mean, it's over.
Exactly.
Because we're working in the box, and they know that we can go back and fix something.
Yep.
But back in the day, you know, being that we had to go back and recall the board, sometimes they would go, oh, forget it, just leave it. It's just one little hi-hat level.
Right.
But back in the day, oh my God, man.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm saying is, you know, now that we have Pro Tools, they know that we can pull it up like that and fix something and send it. It's like 10,000 revisions based on one little thing, you know. But
that's crazy.
Hey, God bless.
For sure. And this is kind of I don't know if it's controversial or not, but what do you wish more artists understood about the mixing process?
Wow. What do I think they understood about the mixing process?
Or the most misunderstood thing.
We can't create miracles.
Right.
There is no, people love to go by that fix it in the mix.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's a fine line.
Yeah.
That's a fine, that's what I wish they really understood more, was that, you know, and, you know, and on the production side, you know, you know, sometimes you can't just produce it or whatever you call it and just throw it to the mixer and think he's going to, you know, correct what you should have done.
Finish the
in the production.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I'm big on production, because production to me is like, you know, you get it to that point where it's where that painting is, you know, you're ready for. I mean, you have all your colors and everything, and it's ready to be sculptured, or it's ready to be painted. And when you get to the mixing process, you know, you create this. You know, hope I'm explaining this right, but because my brain is crazy, but
that's okay.
How I see it is that mixing is like a painting. You know, all the beautiful colors and everything, all the processing and the, you know, all the EQing, how you can manipulate it. But I think when you record it and you produce it, I think your vision needs to be there. So I can get it and take it to the next thing, you know, but not to the point where I'm fixing it.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not where I'm trying to just, you know, fix something that wasn't created in the production. I'm not saying that little things can be enhanced.
Of course.
But to fix things, that's not what a mixer is supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, you know, I have trouble sometimes where, you know, artists will send me something and it's recorded well, but the rough mix is not good at all. And they are very clear that they want to take it completely different direction and really go far with it. And I'm happy to do that, but it's sometimes harder to do that, you know, because it's like you got to stretch it so far to get it there, you know.
And also, you know, they want something to sound like they may give you sounds that are small, but then they want it to sound massive. It's like, no, you have to produce massive sounds, in order for me to mix something that is, you know, and enhance that.
Exactly.
But don't give me something small.
Yeah.
Well, where I have to try to make it big, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
it's already It's already tiny. It's not
exactly.
It's like a short person saying, "Hey, can you make me the size of Shaq?" No, I can't.
Yeah,
because you're already short.
Right.
You know?
I can give you some stilts, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, I can give you a pile of books.
Right.
But
yeah, for sure.
No,
for sure.
I just want to take a quick break and tell you about my free snare guide. In it, I go over all my techniques, from drum choices, microphone placement, tuning, even mixing techniques. Check it out now at brendandecora.com/huge snare. And now, back to the show.
So when you're producing, how do you keep things innovative in the studio, especially within a certain genre?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if I even think about the word innovative. I just think about just something that's just good, and because I'm into melody and into groove, but keeping things innovative.
I guess just staying fresh, It's
just stay, because a lot that we do right now, a lot of people borrow from back in the day, from sampling or whatever, or is so everything is borrowed backwards, forward. And a lot of times we try to say it's something fresh, but it really isn't. Yeah. It's just something borrowed.
Right.
And,
right. Borrowed and tweaked to make new.
Yeah, it's like, we keep cooking with the same things, salt and pepper, right?
Right.
You can't innovate salt and pepper.
Right.
You can't innovate chili sauce.
Yeah,
Can't innovate cayenne pepper.
Yep.
You can't innovate it. I mean, you can make the bottle look cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But how much innovation can we do? So it's hard for me. I don't know if I think about that word. But one thing I don't do is I don't like to be trendy.
Okay.
Yeah, but innovative, I never think about it. But that's a good word to think about from now on, because I really never do.
Right. So when it comes to facing challenges in the studio, have you ever had a session go south, and how did you turn it around?
I don't think I've ever had a session go south, but I have a way of, like, say if I'm mixing something and the sounds are horrible and it's distorted, but not distorted in a good way.
Right.
Somebody just didn't know how to record something, or they didn't realize how bad the recording was. I kind of make it sound like it was on purpose.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was meant to sound that way. So the person so the listener or whoever's trying to judge it is not,
right. Not finding the flaw.
No, it tricks them. It tricks them.
Exactly.
But something going south, I have to think, wow, maybe I did have one, but I can't think of it now.
Yeah.
But I'm sure everybody has a bad session.
Right. And even when you're coming up, like learning as an assistant or something.
Okay, yeah, let's go back. Yeah, as far as that, yeah. Oh my God. I remember one time, and one of my mentors, Alan Meyerson, man, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was doing something, and that was during the analog days.
Right.
And I was an assistant back then. And for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but I accidentally erased a track.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. How did I do that? I think I was creating a click, because back then we would turn the analog tape over and create a click so it can trigger something.
Right.
But I accidentally erased the wrong track. I think I accidentally erased track 1.
Oh, because it was backwards. Yeah.
And I was supposed to put a click on track 23 or something.
Right.
Or something crazy happened. And so I was like, oh my God, how am I going to tell them?
Right.
And I think, thank God we had a copy reel.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And it's not common back then.
But he was so cool about it. He said, don't worry about it. We got this other reel. And I was like, oh my God, thank you.
Okay.
And so
nice.
that, to me, I just thought I was sweating. I thought I was fired. I thought I had screwed up somebody's life.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that was South.
Yeah, exactly.
That went south, man. That was,
Nice.
talking about South. That was Antarctica, which I think might be North. But,
Right.
oh, my God.
Good. Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to industry changes and adaptation, what's your take on how the producer's role is changing in modern music?
Industry changes. Oh, yeah. Of how things are changing as far as the producers. I would say that producers are more hands-off. They're not as hands-on.
Right.
They're not really there during all of the whole process of doing vocals. You know what I mean? A lot of times they're not. I mean, a lot of things are passed on because we're in the digital age. A lot of things are on hard drives or whatever, or they're passed on through email with stems.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the producers nowadays are just passing on the track, and then the artist is doing the rest with her vocal producer or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's how things have changed, and I'm still getting used to that because I'm more of a hands-on. I'm there from beginning to end.
Right.
I mean, I'm there producing the vocals too. Mm-hmm. I'm there during the recording session, the overdub session, the vocal session, and I'm not knocking anybody, but I think that's what has changed. Mm-hmm. A lot of producers are not. Now, a lot of them are not allowed to be there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the artist doesn't want the producer there. The producer gets credit, sole credit, but they like to work with their vocal producer, or they work by themselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of tracks are phoned in now.
Right.
And
it's just they do the music only and then pass it off.
Yeah. That's different.
Okay.
Different.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some current or recent projects that you're allowed to talk about if you can?
Oh yeah, I am. I finished the Doja Cat album is out, Scarlet.
Okay.
That came out maybe a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently working on Uchis' album,
a
Spanish album, which will be out in January.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with Kaytranada right now on his, because I worked on his last album, Bubba.
Okay.
Now I'm working on his new one.
Mm-hmm.
That should be out next year. I am working on, my mind goes blank when people ask me that question.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember.
Right.
I'm going to be working on the Maria's next album.
Okay.
That should be coming up in November.
Nice.
I am working on Ty Verdes. He's a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
He's a melodic rapper. Finishing up that.
Mm-hmm.
That should be out next year. Working on Fox Warren, which is a group that is headed by Andy Schaaf, an artist out of Canada.
Right. Is there like with that production team you're talking about? Are those guys involved in a lot of them, or are some of these just mixing?
The guys that are working with me?
Yeah.
No. Those are just mixing projects I'm working on.
Okay, cool.
The current stuff I'm working on. Mixing. With my production team, we did a song for this movie called Sweetwater.
Okay.
And we did a end credit song, and so that was fun. The song is called "To Be First," and it's featuring a singer named Titus Early Macon, which check it out, Sweetwater.
Cool. Yeah. Nice.
What else? I am mixing.
I mean,
you've
already said a lot.
Yeah, it goes
that's
on.
cool.
Yeah, it's, trust me, it's stuff.
You're busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. I'm solely producing an artist out of UK. Name is Dylan Cartledge.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I'm a busy guy, man.
Nice.
It's crazy.
Nice.
I'm juggling.
Awesome.
I'm actually mixing right now while I'm talking to you. No, I'm
awesome. Awesome. I like to wrap up each show with the same kind of few questions.
Okay.
The first one is, who is your most influential teacher?
My most influential teacher.
And it could be a few if you want.
No, yeah, I have a couple. I would say the late great Tavi Mote. who I worked mostly with coming up at Larrabee. Then there's Alan Myerson. Who else? And then there was Keith Cohen. I would say it was 3 mixers I worked with coming up.
Okay.
And who else? I think that was, there's Ed Cherney, which I always love Ed.
Right.
He, I didn't work a lot with him, but I worked maybe a couple of times with Ed, and he and another late great guy, and he inspired me because he was so easygoing, and he taught me just how to be, chill.
Right.
Just to have fun. Because the sessions are about fun.
Exactly.
It's not a pressure cooker.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so,
it's interesting. Like when you're coming up as a runner and assistant, it's so much pressure and all this intense stuff. Yeah. But that's the point. Like people are there making music and enjoying themselves.
Right. It's not supposed to be like pulling your hair out and
exactly.
Nervous. But but I understand the whole stress part of it because every time before I start a mix, it's like I'm on stage. Yeah. It's like stage fright. So I'm like sitting in front of my computer, like, okay. And, I'm listening to the demo, listen to it just to get a vibe of what the song's about and, just how to approach it. And, because my brain, I got so much music in my brain. So each time I hear a new song, I'm like, I go back. Right. I go, oh, it feels like this. Oh, it reminds me of that.
Right.
So, yeah, man.
It's about being creative. And,
It really is, man. It's about being creative, but you always want to, we're in the business of pleasing people. And at the same time, we're like puppet masters too, because the stuff that we work on, it creates so many emotions. Yeah. You either cry, you laugh, you fight. Exactly. So we have all this in our hands, you know what I mean, to convey an emotion to the listener is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And mixing is what does it, Even the production to the mixing to produce this emotion out of the listener is pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The next question is, what is your favorite reference track if you have to go to a new studio and kind of learn the room?
I used to have one a long time ago. It was called Keep On Moving by Soul to Soul. That was my reference track because I love, that was the 90s, and that was the kind of the early days of when that 808 was used and the 808 kick was used and that low end just felt so good. If I listen to it now, it'd probably be like, it doesn't compare to what the 808 is now. Now it's like boom, boom.
Right.
But back then it was nice and smooth, and the low end was nice, and that was my reference to studios. But now, I don't reference anymore. Yeah. I just sometimes you do it without even thinking.
Right.
And that's where I am now.
Absolutely. Nice. Last question.
Yeah.
What would be one tidbit you have for an upcoming engineer?
Patience.
Yeah.
That's it. Because, the more crazy technology gets, the less patience that we have. Because everything is now. Everything is now. Everything boom boom. Text is now. Email is almost now. Like everything is now. Phone. I mean, even having a phone with you all the time is now. Even having the news inside your phone is now.
Yeah.
And so your patience becomes thin.
Yeah.
It's very thin. So I said you have to really, lock in your patience because I think you and I were talking about this earlier. Like coming up, being a runner or being an intern.
Right.
A lot now kids just want everything now. I want to be a producer. I want to be a master. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to be now. I don't have time to wait for anybody.
Exactly.
I know I have to do this. I gotta, it's like, no, you have to chill. Sit back and learn. You know what I mean? Learn because they think, watching a tutorial, is the fastest thing. No, you being in a room with somebody. Learning with somebody, being in that's nothing like that, man.
Absolutely. I still remember when I was an assistant, and I had been assisting for a while, and like I swear, like someone turned the light on and I can hear EQ.
Yeah.
You know, like the really specific, each frequency is like, oh,
Right.
I get it now. And it took me a long time of sitting there watching people to really get that, you know. So
watching somebody work is so much, it's like night and day from watching something online. And a lot of people don't have the opportunities to, I don't want to be insensitive, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to sit with somebody and learn. So I don't want to be insensitive. But it's, you know, watching something online and they go before and after.
Right.
It's way different than, you know, being in a room with somebody and hearing somebody turn something and do something.
Adjust
and you're like,
things
oh,
on the fly.
that's, yeah, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
it's
awesome,
cool.
man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. You know,
awesome.
You know, these things are always like podcasts and whatever, interviews always like hope I don't look like a jerk.
Yeah.
Hope I don't sound like a jerk. You know?
Oh, good.
You know,
sweet, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for checking out the show. Make sure to subscribe for all the updates, and I'll see you next week.